What's up, design family, and welcome back to another episode of Fittdesign TV. So glad to have you back on the channel. On today's episode, I'll be running you guys through my 6 key tips in terms of how you can actually bring in elements to grow your fashion brand. The idea with these 6 key elements, and we'll cover everything from how to set up your own unique selling point, ultimately all the way to how to position your brand in a way that feels authentic and can set you apart from the competition. The goal of this episode is to give you guys the tips and tricks, or moreover, the global tools that you need to implement today, both in your product design strategy, your marketing strategies, and even all the way to your actual fulfillment strategies to set yourself apart from the competition, to create a brand aesthetic and vision that feels unique and authentic, and ultimately to drive your brand forward in a way that feels harmonious and that feels 100% in line with the vision that you want to create long term. What's up, design family, and welcome to Fittdesign TV. So glad to have you here. On this channel, we discuss all things sports fashion, graphic design, manufacturing, and technology. We'll discuss key topics, answer pressing questions, and provide actionable steps on starting your own product line. If you're interested in any of the above topics, stick around. You're in for a good one. Getting right into the episode, number 1 is going to be to focus primarily on your USP, or your unique selling point. The idea behind a unique selling point is that you're giving your customers something that only you can provide. So they have to go to your brand specifically to get access to this. What can be a unique selling point? Well, this term is a little bit lax, and there's a lot of things that can be implemented into what is considered a unique selling point. For example, you can focus on great customer service as your unique selling point. You can have customer service that far exceeds the competition. That's a unique selling point. People are going to have to come to you specifically for that unique experience. Or let's just say you're a sportswear brand and you're looking to create something that is a cut above the competition. Your focus can be primarily on creating functional products that focus on bringing in high-end fabrics with functional performance aesthetics. So instead of just going as a run-of-the-mill performance brand, you could really focus and hone in on who your end customer is, what they're going to end up putting your garments through, so what experiences that they're going to have with your garments, and ultimately designing your products specifically around those experiences. So focus on your USP and make sure that you're creating something unique that only you as a brand can provide, and that's how you're going to attract your customers and their loyalty long term. Number 2 on the list is to focus on what your brand's personality is. It's important to personify your brand. If your brand was a person, what sort of personality would it emit? At the end of the day, the goal here is to create a relatable brand that can evoke emotions in your customers. If you can touch your customers on an emotional level, you're going to keep them thinking about your brand time and time again, and they're going to have a deeper and sort of more meaningful connection with your brand. At the end of the day, brands XYZ are all selling products. You're selling textile pieces that you're cutting together to make the finished garment. There's nothing particularly special about that, but the emotion that you evoke with your products, with your marketing, with your customer service, that's really where you set yourself apart and you can really grow your brand. Look at your brand, try to understand what personality it's giving off. Is it industrial? Is it more warm and cozy? Is it more friendly? Is it mysterious? Is it more aggressive? Try to understand what the look and feel of your brand is, because that's also going to have to align with your USP. For example, let's just say you're a sports performance brand, the one that we mentioned in step 1. Well, if you're trying to go for a hyper performance oriented look and feel, but your personality or your brand personality is overly friendly and it's overly cuddly, those two things are a disconnect. So make sure that your USP and your brand personality are matching up and are in line. Number 3 on the list is to absolutely figure out what your ideal target market is. I see so many brands and so many entrepreneurs getting into the space and casting such a wide net with their market, saying that their target market is pretty much anyone who's into fitness. And though that may seem appealing, the lack of focus is going to be at a detriment to your long-term vision. So figure out who your customer avatar is. And we actually did a podcast episode with the founder of SuperX, and he actually did a great job at detailing the importance of figuring out your customer avatar early on so that you can set your product strategy and your marketing strategy in line. When it comes to figuring out your customer avatar, you need to ask yourself some questions. Well, what is the average age of my customer? What's their gender? What's their demographic? Where do they live? What are their interests? What are their likes? What are their dislikes? When do they typically purchase? When do they get paid? All of these questions, once you have clarity over them, are going to give you the tools necessary to grow your brand and to push it forward. Number 4 is to focus on your brand aesthetic and to have consistency within all of your brand aesthetic elements. This can include your packaging, this can include how you're marketing yourself, your website, and ultimately your products. If there's a disconnect between any one of these elements, this is not a surefire way to grow your brand. You want to make sure you have consistency across all these items. At the end of the day, you want to create an aesthetic that is fresh, memorable, unique. You want to retain the image of your company in the heads of your customers, whether they're browsing you on Instagram or they're on your website. By giving them something spectacular to look at, something that feels fresh and authentic, and ultimately that feels cohesive, this is how you actually create this brand structure. And this is how you remain fresh in the minds of your customers for many, many moments to come. Number 5 is have a brand point of view, and for God's sake, stick to your guns on this one. Understand that you can't please everyone. By having no opinion or having no position, ultimately you end up with a soulless and hollow company. Make sure that you stand for something. Make sure that you have a bit of humility and a little bit of personableness to your brand. You want people to approach you in a way that feels authentic and unique. The last thing that you want to do is create a shell of a company that is just offering fashion products without any semblance of connection to its customers. Also, if you stand for something, your opinions and what you stand for should be consistent with your brand image. I'll give you a very specific example. Let's just say you're a brand that's all about sustainability, and that's what you push on your brand. And when someone purchases from your product line, you offer 50% or 60% of the proceeds to a donation cause. But the way that you're creating the imagery around your brand doesn't signify that. You're using non-recyclable materials, or you're creating an aesthetic overall that's wasteful, or just not necessarily in line with this core mission of yours. Make sure that all of your core parts, your imagery, your marketing, your product line, your messaging, your packaging is all in line with your core values, and maintain consistency, because that's how you create authenticity and you continue to connect with your core demographics. Number 6, and last but definitely not least, is have clarity and focus over what your brand positioning is. Understand where you slot in the market, especially overly saturated markets. If you have no clarity over what your position is in the market, you're really going to get lost in the weeds. I'll give you a very specific example. Let's just say you're opting for the luxury market, but for some reason you're luxury market focused and the way that you're pricing your products are not in line. Funny enough, if you price yourself or underprice yourself in a luxury focused market, this can actually go against you. You're not going for value-based customers. You may be going for customers that value exclusivity and are looking at the price tag as an indication of that exclusivity. So by underpricing yourself and by positioning yourself as a more value brand, this is going to go against your brand positioning. So understanding where you slot in the market, how you're pricing yourself, high to low, low to high, is going to go a long way towards giving you clarity and focus over your pricing strategy, your marketing strategy, the types of products you make, when you launch, and who you connect with. Well guys, that is it. That is a wrap on this episode. To recap quickly, this episode we covered the 6 key elements that you'll need to follow today in order for you to grow your fashion brand. We looked at 6 of my top elements, and they are as follows. Number 1 is focus on your USP. What's your unique selling point? What is the reason that your customers should come to you? 2 is what's your brand's personality? What emotion are you trying to evoke? 3, focus on your ideal target market. Really have clarity and hone in on who your customer avatar is. 4, what's your brand aesthetic? What look and feel are you trying to give off, and are you maintaining consistency across that, across all of your platforms, your products, and your marketing range? 5, have a point of view and stick to your guns. And 6 is understand and focus on your brand positioning. Where do you slot in the market, and how do you compare to your customers, or how do you compare to your competitors? Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider smashing a massive thumbs up. It really helps us out and it motivates us to keep putting out this content. Also, check the link in the description. Let's just say you're looking to start a fashion brand and you're unsure of how to start, or you have an existing fashion brand that you're looking to scale. I'm offering limited slots of consultation calls, and we can hop on a one-on-one call and discuss any and all questions that you guys have. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Fittdesign TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.